Blog Talk Radio.
Hi everyone, this is Marty McDermott from Franchise Interviews, and welcome to another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, where each podcast you get to hear a great quote in franchising. And today's podcast is being brought to you by Franchise Times Magazine. Franchise Times is the only magazine that targets both franchisors and multi-unit franchisees, and is a must-read for anyone looking to buy a franchise. You know, Don and I have been hosting Franchise Interviews now over 4 years and over 200 shows, and during that time we've had some incredible quotes on our show. The nice thing about hosting Franchise Interviews is we're frequently asked to be guests on radio shows and magazine interviews on the topics of entrepreneurship and franchising. And today you're going to get to hear an interview that we did 6 months ago on CBS Radio with Lynn Johnoson on her motivational talk show. And of course the topic was entrepreneurship and franchising. And here's what we said. I think you guys will enjoy it.
Hey, did you ever think about buying a franchise? Do you think that now is the worst time to buy one? Or you're not sure whether anyone would loan you money to purchase a franchise? How does the whole thing work? Well, let's find out. We have an expert on the line, Marty McDermott.
Hi, Coach Lynn. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well. It's always great to talk to you. I always feel like it's a World Talk reunion, right? We get together.
I know. We started out, guys, a very long time ago. I think we're some of the only people left, aren't we?
I know. It's amazing, isn't it? But it's just, and it seems like yesterday that we started, Lynn. You know?
It really does.
It's just incredible. But it's the success that you've had is just wonderful to watch, though. I mean, it's just incredible.
Thank you so much. And yours has been pretty fantastic. You know, Marty, just over the break, when I announced that you were going to be here talking about franchises, I got a tweet from Alice and a lot of other people, but I selected Alice's tweet.
Oh, good.
Because she says that her family has owned the same bagel shop for over 35 years.
Wow.
But now they're going to have to close because the business has slowed and their debts are too high. She wonders if setting up her own franchises could save their business. So, Marty, I know you're an expert and you host that wonderful show called Franchise Interviews on Blog Talk Radio.
That's right.
Are franchises for everyone?
Oh, great question, Lynn. It's a deep question, and definitely not. In fact, you know what? If I can quote my friend Dr. John P. Hayes, franchising is not for everyone, and it's probably not for most people. And when I say that, you know, the first time I heard that phrase, Lynn, I was a little confused because I said, if franchising isn't for everyone and it's not for most people, then who could it be for? You know, it's but franchising is really for someone who knows how to follow rules, follow systems. They're not a true entrepreneur. When I say that, sometimes franchisees get upset because they say, what are you talking about? I consider myself an entrepreneur. The entrepreneur is really the person that actually creates the franchise opportunity. And, you know, when you're talking about franchisors or entrepreneurs, they're really, and you know this, Lynn, they're very creative people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they can look at something.
I could never follow rules, Marty.
Exactly, and they could just create something out of anything, you know. Franchisees, and it was funny because I was in Virginia at George Mason University on Friday talking about this topic, and one of the topics I was talking about was military being good candidates for franchises because they know how to follow a system, you know. So you really have to know how to follow a system, like to follow rules, and if you can't do that, then it's probably not for you. And so, yeah, it's always a word of caution before getting into franchising.
Now, I know that you say that there are two key factors that should be present before you consider buying a franchise. What are those factors?
Well, it depends. There's a lot of different things. I mean, one is, what do you want the franchise to do for you? And, you know, for example, like I'll give you an example. I like Dunkin' Donuts. You know, I frequent Dunkin' Donuts probably several times a week. And as much as I like Dunkin' Donuts and the coffee and the donuts, I wouldn't be a good franchisee for that type of system because when you buy into a Dunkin' Donuts, you're working some pretty hefty hours.
True.
You know? So one of the questions you have to ask yourself is, what's important to you? You know, you're really taking a deep assessment. And for me, you know, my family is most important to me. So if I wasn't, you know, with my family or my son, like if he has a baseball game one day or whatever it is, I'm going to get very frustrated, even if I'm making a lot of money. So you want to ask yourself, what do you want this franchise to do for you, and what kind of system is the best match for you? There's so many choices out there today, Lynn. I mean, there's like 80 different industries franchising. Yeah, a lot of people, when they just think of franchising, they just think of food, but it's actually up to about 80 different industries. There's accounting franchises, there's advertising franchises, there's shoe repair franchises, you name it. It seems like they have it, So you really have to ask yourself, what's the best match for you?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of research. And, of course, you come down to the financials, too. And, McDonald's, as successful as it is, it's almost a home run every single time you have a McDonald's franchise. I can't afford one, So the financial aspects are always a big factor as well. I think to go even deeper, I think you need family support. I think that's important as well, if you're married, I think you have to have that support from your husband or your wife before you get into an opportunity as well, because you're taking them along for the ride with you.
I love that you said that, Marty.
Absolutely.
Do you know what you said? You said you need the support from your husband, which would infer that a woman could easily go in and buy a franchise. I love that.
Absolutely. Well, you can see the influence my wife has on me too. I guess she's got me trained, Lynn. She's a fan of your show, by the way, too. So you can tell I listen. But absolutely. But it's so true. And speaking of women, Lynn, I mean, they really do make fantastic entrepreneurs. It's amazing. I think for the first time, I teach for Kaplan University.
Yes.
And we have in colleges for the first time, there's more women in college today than there are men.
And they're older as well.
They're older, So what does that say to you? Is there's a lot of exciting trends that are taking place here in the United States. So.
Now, I wanted to ask you about this because I know that they just announced that even Ritz Camera is going to be closing many, many, many of their stores, and I'm kind of heartbroken about that because I'm an amateur professional photographer.
Right.
But my question is, so how do you know if the franchise that you're interested in is even going to be around in the next 5 years?
Wow, it's a great question, and nothing is ever 100% certain. I will say this, that not all franchises are created equal, and what you can do is, look at the company's track record for one. One of the things that you can look at is their franchise disclosure documents, and look at the history of the company. Some companies that just started franchising, they haven't really been around very long, so you're kind of taking a chance in a way, and you can look at how many franchisees they have and things like that. I think there's certain franchises that are always going to be around. I think McDonald's will always be here. They have like 33,000 units. Subway has about 33,000 units. So those ones are pretty safe. It's almost a home run every single time. So there is always that element of risk involved, even when you are buying into a franchise system. Of course, you can look at things like the market and things like that and kind of make your own assessments. But
so, Marty, with all that you know, because I have 1 minute left, and I definitely want them to come and listen to you because I love your show on Blog Talk Radio.
Thanks so much, Lynn.
And I want them to check out your work. It's very, very important. Are franchises still a viable option even with this economic downturn?
Most definitely. I think, Lynn, and this is going to sound a little weird, is, one of the interesting effects of the recession I see now is some of the best offers in franchising.
Interesting.
And I've been doing this 10 years now. I'll give you a couple quick examples. Some franchisers, what they're doing is they're reducing or dropping a franchise fee for their new franchisees. Now, that's pretty significant because a franchise fee usually goes for about $40,000. So they're waiving that. In some cases, there's 2-for-1 deals where if you buy one franchise, they'll drop the franchise fee for the second one.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so it's really, and that's the effect that I've noticed from the recession is really some incredible deals. Even the landlords right now, and you've noticed there's a lot of great locations available right now.
Yes.
I think, you want to get those locations because, a great location can really overcome bad marketing, and there's going to be a lot of people kicking themselves next year. They're going to say, I should have got into that opportunity last year when they waived the franchise fee, when I could have got this killer location in this particular spot. And, landlords are sometimes more willing to give a great lease to a franchise as opposed to, let's say, Tony Subs, who's just like a regular guy,
So somewhere Tony's saying, "Hey!"
Exactly. Tony's upset. But, so they're really getting some incredible deals right now. I think that this is the most exciting time to get into franchising. But again, to quote you, Lynn, franchising isn't for everyone. It's not for most people. You do have to really do your homework. It's not guaranteed every single time. And, not all franchises are really created equal. There are some that are better than others.
Well, Marty, it's a pleasure to hear your voice and talk to you again.
It's a pleasure to hear your
and
voice, too.
Where
I
can
love you,
my...
I think you're great.
Thank you. I love you, too.
Thanks, Coach Lynn.
Where can my people hear you, do business with you, and all those wonderful things?
Absolutely. Go to franchiseinterviews.com. You can hear I think we're up to 160 shows, Lynn, recorded up to this point. Yeah, so it really, when I say that number, I mean, it just really it tickles my spine because I didn't think that there was going to be a market for this or we'd find like a listening base for it. But, I mean, every single month we have more listeners just like you, So I haven't quite achieved your success yet, but someday,
Well, thank you so much, Marty. And go check him out. Franchise Interviews on Blog Talk Radio, my dear old friend from World Talk Radio.
Thanks
Marty
so much, Lynn. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, prosper.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Here it is.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.
Franchise Teacher.
Would you like to know how to franchise your concept or grow your franchise business?
Meet the experts at Franchise Teacher.
The goal of Franchise Teacher is to teach, coach, consult, and advise. The team of experts at Franchise Teacher will evaluate your business model and present you with a winning business strategy.
Franchise Teacher will help you decide whether or not your concept works and if it's franchisable. Franchise Teacher is proud to have over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors.
Franchise Teacher are developers of over a dozen franchise systems, which include brick and mortar as well as home-based concepts of nearly 3,000 combined franchise locations.
Whether you need to add more units or get more customers, Franchise Teacher can help. We will teach.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn our proven system.
Coach.
Franchise Teacher will help you provide a game plan to succeed.
Consult.
Franchise Teacher will make sure you stay on track.
And advise.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn from our over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors. Take advantage of our free, no-obligation phone consultation. Simply go to franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
That's franchiseteacher.com. Or call us at 561-385-3032.
Blog Talk Radio.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews. Welcome to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship. Listen to interviews with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And now, welcome your host, Marty McDermott, and Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 8 years, we've been asking the entrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and we have a great show today. We're meeting with Sean Collins, the CEO of the Costa Vida franchise opportunity. And Costa Vida is inspired by the beautiful Baja Peninsula Coast and the lifestyle that pushes you to catch the wave. Costa Vida believes that the food created with passion from scratch daily tastes better, and their customers know the difference. And we're going to talk to Sean about that in just a moment on Franchise Interviews. So stick around because we got a great show.
Are you looking for a franchise that delivers? Businesses will always need shipping, and for more than 25 years, loyal customers have depended on Unishippers for reliable savings and exceptional customer service. Unishippers is focused on just one thing: helping small and medium-sized businesses save time and money on all their shipping needs. And as the largest reseller of complete shipping services in the country, we have the buying power to ensure that we succeed. The Unishippers franchise offers low startup costs, no equipment or real estate required because they're not retail, residual income, and a quality of life and work-life balance. For more information on becoming a Unishippers franchisee, go to www.unishippers.com and click Franchise Opportunities or call Franchise Development at 801-708-5822. That's 801-708-5822. Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 8 years, we've been asking the Franchpreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and as we were saying earlier, we have a great show today. We're meeting with Sean Collins, the CEO of the Costa Vida franchise opportunity. And Costa Vida believes that their food is created with passion, from scratch daily, tastes better, and their customers know the difference. Hi, Sean. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Marty. I'm doing wonderful.
Oh, that's fantastic, Sean. We always like to ask our guests, where are you calling from this morning?
Calling from Salt Lake City, Utah.
Oh, fantastic. Can I ask how the weather is there today?
Absolutely beautiful. As I was driving in this morning, I was looking just up over the mountain along the Wasatch Front, and sun was coming up, sky was blue, gorgeous morning.
Beautiful. That's fantastic. I saw a video of you speaking a while back, Sean, at the Rollins Center for Entrepreneurship and Technology at BYU, and I thought you had such an amazing story. I said, I think you certainly have a book in you one day that I would certainly like to read. Maybe you could start off telling our listeners, what's your role and when did you join Costa Vida?
I am the CEO of Costa Vida. I joined about 11 years ago. We had a family entertainment concept, movie theaters, restaurants, bowling, flow rider, just different attractions, and always looking for great food. And we first connected with Costa Vida as a franchisee. We were the first franchisee of the Costa brand.
That's fantastic. It reminded me a bit of the story of like Dave Thomas. I think Dave Thomas was one of the first franchisees, Sean, to KFC. And I could see how you certainly recognize that opportunity. I learned that Costa Vida is trying to redefine the fast casual industry by creating a fresh casual segment, which I thought was interesting. Maybe you could elaborate a little bit on that concept, Sean.
Well, with Costa, again, as I mentioned, being the first franchisee, the thing that attracted me to the brand was people frequent Costa. As I watched the very first store that was built, people were eating there 3-4 times a week. You and I, as we love a restaurant, we may go to a restaurant once or twice a month if we love it. As I saw that kind of following, I wanted to see what was a differentiator. And as you see, within Costa, they make everything from scratch every day. And as you look at today, that people are trying to eat healthier as they're considering their options of where to eat. And that healthy component is something that a brand like ours, we just make sure that not only do we have the right flavor profile, but we have the food that people can eat and not feel like they've after you eat a big meal, you feel that weight. With Costa, where it is made from scratch, it is something that you feel good after eating it.
It makes the workday easier too, doesn't it, Sean? Especially after
Certainly
lunch.
Does.
That's fantastic. Maybe you could walk us through the restaurant's menu offering, Sean. And one of the questions I like to ask someone like yourself is, do you have a favorite dish when you go into your own restaurants?
I do. Our signature item is our sweet pork. It's interesting on our sweet pork. We cook 1.3, if you can imagine this, million pounds of pork to make our signature dishes, which we have a sweet pork salad, we have sweet pork tacos, in addition to enchiladas, quesadillas. We also, in addition to the sweet pork, our steak, our chicken, our shrimp, as you go right down our menu offering, there's a diversity there that you can come to Costa as often as you'd like and get that signature flavor that you like introduced in a number of different entrees.
That's fantastic. And, in studying the business model too, Sean, it seems to me like, Costa Vida is also an experience. What can consumers expect when they walk into Costa Vida? What's the atmosphere like, Sean?
That's a great question because that's a big part of our brand. Certainly our food defines us. The experience as you eat our food is the differentiator. That said, when you come into a Costa, from the moment you drive up to it, on the outside, it's a beautiful, bright, inviting store. As you go inside, there's always windows where you can see out. We show the videos of a beach environment with surfing and just a beach lifestyle. You feel that when you come into a Costa and you're eating that amazing food. You feel like you get you have that escape to the coast, and not only do you get to taste that great food, you get to feel that experience of just kind of getting a break from it all.
That's fantastic. And that was the whole inspiration, too, wasn't it, Sean? In studying, I thought that Costa Vida also had, this fascinating story, which was one of the reasons why we started the show 9 years ago, is we found, just like Costa Vida has, is, an amazing story, and there's still true to that inspiration, which I think is fantastic. So some of our listeners might be saying to themselves, what separates Costa Vida apart from maybe some of the other, Mexican places that are out there, Sean? How do you typically respond to that? Again,
our food differentiates us. That said, we are a lifestyle brand. We connect with those that eat in our restaurant. There's a loyalty, there's a following that's remarkable. When you look at the food that we offer, we try to educate our guests that are in our restaurant how important it is to eat healthy. We try to make sure our offering, we're very focused on offering a gluten-friendly menu. I think there's 4 different items on our menu that even have gluten. We make that a point to educate those in the restaurant that our food is made from scratch. It is fresh, but it is healthy. You eating that food and making sure that that you're aware of what you eat, how that fuels you throughout the day. It's important, and I think the fact that we focus on that, our guests connect. I mean, they like the fact we don't just offer them a great menu, a great flavor profile with our food, but we try to educate them.
That's fantastic. It's so important. It can't be easy serving healthy food in a quick service setting, right, Sean? I mean, otherwise, someone would have done it a long time ago. I mean, so how does Costa Vida meet consumers' needs, meanwhile while keeping costs down and also maintaining quality and freshness at the same time?
It's a great question. Again, each day with our team, we're focused on meeting the demand of our consumers. They want whole foods. They want made from scratch meals. They want to make sure that in today's environment, they know how important that is to eat healthy. And so we work incredibly hard to plan our food costs, to make sure that the value, the dollars that they spend, that they're getting the best at the best price point that we can offer.
Fantastic. Maybe we could talk a little bit about the franchisees for a moment, Sean. I mean, how big is the company today? I mean, Costa Vida has really had some nice growth over the years.
We have. Today we have 74 locations. We'll open 2 more locations by the end of the year. We have 21 locations solidified to open next year. We may open a couple more than that, but right now there's 21 planned to be built. We have 214 under development. We're in 13 different states. And right now we're also up in Canada. We've got our 3rd location in Canada, looking for our 4th location there. So it's certainly exciting to see. We're about ready to open Florida this next year. That'll put us coast to coast.
Wow,
We've recently opened in Chicago and Atlanta. We're working right now on Arkansas. It's fun to watch it fill in. We have a lot of interest in a number of different states, but again, we're being very careful as we do select our franchise partners to make sure as we continue to fill in across the United States that those that partner with us, that they can hold on to that vision that is what's created this brand.
That's fantastic. It must be an amazing feeling for you too, Sean, because I mean you were there at the beginning, weren't you? So to be at these 74 units today, I mean it must still be a great feeling when you see a new Costa Vida open, I imagine.
It truly is. I mean, every time we open one and as we go to an opening, you see that line out the door and down the sidewalk, an absolute buzz. But I will tell you, another great feeling is our franchise partners. As I look, we have 19 different franchise group. Again, we're very careful of who we partner with. But all of these franchise partners, it's exciting as they've been a part of a number of different brands for them to tell us our story of what makes Costa great. It's a wonderful thing to be in business with franchise partners that definitely get the vision and that are as committed to that vision as you are.
That's fantastic. I teach marketing for Kaplan University, Sean. A lot of times we talk about trends that are taking place in the industry. Are there any big national consumer trends that you're following?
We're always watching them. We'd be foolish not to. As I mentioned today, especially with millennials, they are very aware, very focused on eating healthy. Technology is a big part of it today, making sure that we're able to communicate with them through social media, that we're able in real time able to let them know what's happening with our brand, not just as they're coming in to have a meal, but throughout the day and throughout the week. They know where we are, what we're doing, how connected we are to the community, and as they see that, the loyalty, it's truly remarkable to see how strong and loyal our following is.
What do you typically look for in your franchisees, Sean? I mean, I imagine you meet with all of them. I mean, so who are your ideal franchisees, and are they multi-unit operators?
They are. There's a couple of franchise partners in the very, very beginning that did a single store, and I'm thinking only one actually currently has a single store. Every one of our franchise partners are multi-unit operators. Again, they're true partners. We work very closely. We've created what's called the Costa Vida Advisory Council. We put that together to make sure that we had representation from our franchise partners, that their voice was heard, that collectively we could make the best decisions for the brand. As we look for franchise partners, we look for passion. We look for individuals that are willing to do it the hard way. Making food from scratch every day is not an easy thing. We want our franchise partners to have a strong background in operations. We want them to be interested in growing and managing an area as opposed to just coming in and doing a store or two. Right. And basically a willingness to be a team player, not just with us as the franchisor, but with their fellow franchisees and with their team. Our franchise partners are very involved in the day-to-day operations. It's not just handed off to a district manager or a general manager. The owners are very involved.
That's fantastic. What were they doing in their past lives, Sean? I mean, before they became franchisees, was there a diversity? And maybe you could talk a little bit about some of your all-star franchisees.
Sure. I mentioned a moment ago our Costa Vida Advisory Council. We have 4 individuals there that represent zones, which again encompasses all of our franchise locations. Denny Wagstaff, the one up north, he came from Kentucky Fried Chicken. I think he used to have 70 plus Kentucky Fried Chickens. Gary Moore was a Burger King franchisee, is a Burger King franchisee. Ted Price came from Hard Rock Cafe. Jim Christensen up in northern Utah, he's got the highest sales store within the brand. These, as you look at our franchise partners, they come from brands where they've had great success. Some in the fast food segment they're recognizing that fast casual is the what you want to be a part of, and so as they've considered all their options with fast casual, they've seen that Costa is the right fit for them.
That's fantastic. What's the typical investment range, Sean, for opening up one of your restaurants, and do you offer internal financing?
We do not offer internal financing. That said, we have set up, we do have relationships with a number of different banks that we've connected our franchise partners with. We are pre-approved by the SBA. We're very involved with restaurant leasing companies. So as an individual comes in and they build a restaurant out, we can help them as they want to lease their equipment. So we don't provide it, but we do facilitate it. Our royalty fee is 6% for someone to be a part of the franchise the Costa Vida family. They need to have a net worth of about $1.6 million minimum. To build a store, it's somewhere between $550,000 and $650,000 to build out a store. To become an area developer, you pay for the first store, which is a $30,000 franchise fee, and then within your area development agreement, you secure however many. If you're going to do 5 stores, you pay $15,000 for the other 4 locations up front, and then you pay the final $15,000 when you're opening the store.
That's great. I mentioned at the beginning of the interview, Sean, I saw your presentation at the Rollins Center for Entrepreneurship and Technology at BYU. Maybe you can, the biggest obstacle our listeners have is they don't know where to begin. Most of them know that they want to get into franchising, but it just seems a bit overwhelming. So from all of your experience, because you are an entrepreneur, what advice would you give them in their quest to buy a franchise?
It's a great question. I think anybody that is looking at the franchise model, you've got to look at the brand. You've got to talk to franchise operators within that brand and ask them what they've enjoyed about the brand, what they like about the brand, where they've had challenges. Really get familiar with that brand through the eyes of existing franchisees. That's very telling. Once they get that understanding, they then can internalize what they've heard to say, that fits for me, that resonates. I would survive well in that environment. There are some franchise companies that they're very hands off, and there's some franchisees that like that. They thrive in that environment. And there's others that need to be very close and connected with the franchisor. And so I would really take the time to make sure that individual, that entrepreneur, that their way of operating works well in the environment of the franchisor, and be honest with themselves. If they can find that connection, and then back up and look at the trajectory of someone that's been doing what they're wanting to do 10 years, 20 years longer, whatever that timeline is, do they like where that's going to take them? And if they see that, then burn the bridges and go to work.
I think that's great advice. What's the best way for our listeners, Sean, to get more information on becoming a franchisee? Is there one particular website that you recommend they go to?
Sure. Go to costavida.net, click on Franchise Opportunities, and Kevin Moody, who works with us and working with our potential franchise partners, he'll get with you and answer any questions that you have as we determine that your connection, that you would work well or fit well in our culture, and you determine that potential franchisee, that they can determine the same thing. Then we invite them in for a discovery day. As they come in for a discovery day, then that will give them everything they need to know, and it gives us everything we need to know to be able to go forward.
That's fantastic. I want to thank you again, Sean, for coming on the show. I've been wanting to interview you for some time now, so this was a real treat for me today. And I'd like to invite you back next year as the Costa Vida brand continues to grow. I think you guys have a great concept.
Marty, thank you very much. Appreciate you having us.
My pleasure, Sean. We'll be right back with more franchise interviews.